Hello, boys and girls. This is JC. How are you? Now, yeah, I noticed there's some construction noise outside, but it's okay. I'm sure my voice can drown them out. Well, hello. Today I bring you another yo-yo review. Now, once again, featuring Yoyofactory. I actually have a lot, quite a few more Yoyofactory reviews coming up. So I guess this is like a Yoyofactory themed month. Today we're talking about two oldies but goodies. We have the Shutter from 2013, I believe, and the Horizon from 2014. I can't believe it's been 8-9 years already, almost 10 years. Because these yo-yos, they were the kind of the, not the flagship, but definitely the two most popular lines from Yoyofactory, right? The Shutter by Gentry Stein and then the Horizon by Paul Kerbel. But nowadays, we have, newer players and newer models. Now, how do these ones keep up? These two best sellers from the olden days. Let's begin with the Horizon, shall we? The Horizon is the one, I believe, that is more outdated, quote unquote. Because if you look at the shape, if you look at just the profile, right? We have, it's pretty narrow if you compare it to even the Shutter, right? It's quite a narrow yo-yo, which isn't really favored in today's competition scene, as far as I know. The width is only about 42.5 millimeters, right? That's not a lot, and it's also quite tall. Because today, usually people are going the opposite way. They're going for wider and sometimes smaller profiles. But what the Horizon gives us is it almost reminds me of the speeder, right? Back in the day, the speeder kind of profile where it's tall, it's slim, and it's really fast. The Horizon yo-yo is very fast on the string, which I think it's, for a lot of the modern day tricks, you'd rather the catch zone be bigger. But I would imagine I'd imagine Hiroyuki Suzuki picking this up and being like, oh, this is amazing. Right? Because it pretty much ticks every box for that kind of style, that really fast, really techno kind of trick, or EDM kind of trick. Showing my ignorance here. But the Horizon, again, it's a yo-yo with very clear strengths and weaknesses. And when it comes to weakness, I'd say that it's not quite as stable and it's not quite as reliable when it comes to bigger tricks that are popular nowadays. But I mean, Paul Kerbel, if you look at him, he does some crazy stuff. I'm not sure if it's always with the Horizon, but he definitely does it with the Horizon. So I remember back in the day, Horizon was like almost like almost like the extreme sports yo-yo, because of the way Paul Kerbel brands himself, right? It does it like finger spin. It's got thumb grind groove. It has a very clean shape that is supposed to be able to handle everything. So yeah, I think this is something that's kind of hard to come by nowadays, and it definitely has its unique strengths, right? It's super fast on the string while maintaining a reasonable stability and reasonable spin time. So if this is something that you think you would enjoy, I would recommend trying the Horizon. But overall, personally, I think I'd prefer something a bit wider, something a bit just more reliable, because I'm not the best at hitting my tricks. Yeah, so that's the Horizon. And next up, the Shutter. The Shutter, for a long time in my mind, it was just the perfect yo-yo. Because if you just look at the design, if you look at, it's just so clever, isn't it? Right? You have a Shutter, and then you have, this is for finger spin, right? And just the shape, they managed to incorporate this element into the yo-yo so seamlessly, right? And with this H shape, it's not like you're sacrificing any performance, right? The yo-yo looks sweet and it plays super well. So for a long time, it was for me the perfect design, and how popular the Shutter is really speaks to that. Even nowadays, I feel that the Shutter kind of aged better than the Horizon. And that the shape is more, I'd say, more neutral, like more all-rounded. And in terms of performance, absolutely, it reflects that. The Shutter can do pretty much everything. And it's 60, I believe 64, 65 grams, but it plays like something heavier. I believe partly due to the H shape. It is from the outside you can see that it's a bit of a slightly kind of extreme H shape. But then if you look at the bowl area, you can see that the wall here is not that thick. Or you can see that here the central part is where a lot of the meat is. And this gives the yo-yo quite a balanced feel. And that definitely reflects again in the performance. The shutter is capable of pretty much everything. It's not the fastest yo-yo, but it's fast enough. And if you watch Gentry Stein, you can see he does a lot of those hop tricks, a lot of the quick change in direction. And I believe the weight in the middle helps with that. So yeah, the shutter, I cannot think of anything the shutter cannot do. From finger spinning, you can even do thumb grinds. Yeah, so Yoyofactory has been pushing the shutter as the only yo-yo you really need. And I believe they kind of have a point. Yeah, the shutter can do pretty much everything you need, and Gentry's won plenty of competitions with this yo-yo. Now, if you play with this for long enough, I personally, I'm a big fan of the shutter, and I believe that this definitely can be your standard yo-yo. Like, I would use this as my daily yo-yo, and I would review other yo-yos against the shutter, just because of how popular it is and how neutral. I guess the term will be how neutral it is. So that's what I do. I play with the shutter a lot more than other yo-yos, and then when I review, it's kind of based on the shutter. And would I recommend this yo-yo for today's players? I think so. I think more than the Horizon, because of, again, how all-rounded the shutter is. I think it's perfect for any beginner. It can take you from beginner levels all the way to competition levels. When you try to go further, you might have to upgrade because with the shutter, because of the way the weight distribution works, I believe the spin time is not the longest. But I mean, for me, it's enough. But if you want something just a bit more, just a bit stronger, you would go with a bimetal option. Not the shutter bimetal. The shutter bimetal is a completely different yo-yo. But I'm trying to think of what I consider to be a bimetal shutter. I guess the new shutter Evo, I haven't tried it, but there's a new bimetal shutter. I mean, that looks pretty sweet. I would want to review that later. But yeah, I think the shutter at $40-something, depending on the color, is absolutely worth it. I think even till this day, everyone should own a shutter, partly because of how iconic it is. You know, a yo-yo made in 2013 kind of influenced an entire century, but also because it's just a solid yo-yo to have. And then when you play with the shutter and then you watch my reviews, you will get more accurate information, because this is the standard I use. All right, so this is the shutter and the Horizon. Thank you very much. I will see you next time.